So here we are, Liverpool fans, 24 hours later. Liverpool won, Tottenham Hotspur won. Well, what is the real takeaway from this game? The performance of Liverpool on the field or the future of manager Arne Slot? Now, this past weekend, I've had a couple of my teams in a tournament in central Massachusetts, and before my first game on Sunday, one of the parents came up to me and he told me that his team, Tottenham Hotspur, was going to get crushed later today by Liverpool. And I have to be honest, my response was, don't be so sure about that. And as much as we like to predict outcomes of these games, this fixture, this game feels like the same old movie on repeat, week after week, suggesting a possible forecast, therefore, for a game like this doesn't require that much insight, really, does it? And it seems like Liverpool fans like myself right now are trapped in Arne Slot's Groundhog Day, as I have stated it and said it earlier, and there's no clear way out. So the performances we've seen of late, all of the recurring issues were on full display against Tottenham. A slow first half, although teenage winger Rio Engamoa did do his best to try to enliven the proceedings. It was typical from the point of view that Liverpool had nearly 70% of the possession, but at the end of the day, there were only 2 shots on target. One of the shots, of course, was the goal, a Dominic Szoboszlai free kick. And there's no question about it that Szoboszlai is capable of magic from free kicks. However, I think many of us feel that Tottenham goalkeeper Vicario should have saved it. He certainly got his positioning wrong and his footwork and what have you. Although, to be fair to the goalkeeper, he did make up for it a little bit later when he made a fabulous fingertip save onto the post from a Cody Gakpo strike. But the warning signs were there for us all to see when just before the interval, in quick succession, 2 Richarlison headers were close to goal, one of which brought out a good save from Alisson. So we move into the second half, and again, similar pattern when Liverpool's ahead. The performance level seems to become increasingly aimless, and the team plays with a lot less conviction as the game goes along. Now, the turning point did come as we entered the final quarter, and there's kind of an irony to it, in as much as Arne Slot brought on Ekitike, Salah and Jones, but changes which were maybe supposed to energise the Liverpool team seemed to energise Tottenham a little bit more. And another recurring issue very much came into focus at this point, with the game speeding up and getting faster and faster and turning into what many label as a basketball game. Frantic end-to-end match, and it's become a hallmark of Liverpool's performances lately. And usually these games have ended in tears. Would it be this way today? Anyway, Liverpool were creating chances, but you have to say so were Spurs. And I think what was of significance was the busier of the 2 goalkeepers was Alisson in the Liverpool net. And it was really starting to feel that an equaliser was going to be inevitable. And yes, it did arrive in the 90th minute. Yeah, we've seen that one before. With Richarlison, you have to credit him. He was waging a one-man war against Liverpool's defence, and he was coming close and getting closer. Now, he'd done this before, actually 3 years ago. And so he'd equalised at the end of a Liverpool game where Tottenham had clawed back a 3-goal Liverpool lead to 3-3. Except 3 years ago, we had Diogo Jota to rescue the Reds with a late winner. And sadly, there's no Diego on the on the team right now following his tragic death and what have you. But anyway, not a great day for Liverpool yet again, and yes, it did end in tears. And so there's going to be a lot of looking at the game overall in terms of the opposition, because Tottenham Hotspur entered this game with more than a full team missing from their starting lineup. A loss against Liverpool would have marked the worst run of defeats in the club history, so they weren't in a great place. Interim manager Igor Tudor had been brought in to try to pull them out of the relegation mire. And up until Anfield yesterday, it had been a very much disastrous appointment. And that had been highlighted in the most recent game, which had been a 5-2 defeat to Atletico Madrid, where Tottenham had conceded 4 goals in the opening 22 minutes. Now, the fan base reaction to all of this is just as predictable as Liverpool's performances. And this has been going on before Christmas, with everything getting louder and louder. But what's more concerning to me, though, was as they were coming off the field, the cameras focused on Chiesa and Salah talking to one another. And there was no attempt to cover their mouths. And I'm not a lip reader, but you could pretty much tell by the body language that things weren't exactly positive. And you have to feel for Chiesa a little bit, because yet again, he was given just 3 paltry minutes to make a difference after Spurs had equalised. And it has been a pattern since his arrival at the club, where he's received very limited game time. It's been hard for him to get a rhythm. And he is a talented player. Yes, he's had some injury doubts and question marks, which have maybe limited him slightly. But he has shown moments of magic as well. And one thing that's been impressive about him is, even though he's been under the circumstances he's had under Arne Slot, he has always seemed to be a team leader, a team player and a cheerleader for the squad and the players. But here it was very, very evident that his patience is wearing thin. And he was having a good old moan, perhaps, to Mo Salah, who I would suspect is a very good ear for him to bleat to right now. Having said that, Salah did seem to take his role as substitute better than he did when he was placed in that position before Christmas. But from the experience of teams when wins aren't on the horizon all the time, birds of a feather flock together. So all I can say is that, if Salah is unhappy, that he keeps it behind wraps, he keeps it behind doors, and his frustrations will remain private at this particular time, because things aren't going great for Liverpool, as we all know. And, they aren't going to improve if things are aired out in public. So coming back to this thing that I said earlier about, we've been going this for months now, where we've had a section of the fans and commentators, podcasters, what have you, have been complaining, and the call for Arne Slot's departure is getting louder and louder. And it does appear that even the more moderate voices within the Liverpool fan base are starting to join the chorus. We know what the history of the club is. They don't tend to leap into these kind of decisions to relieve managers of their jobs. And personally, for me, it's difficult to reconcile the struggles of Arne Slot right now with his first season, where he made so many smart decisions and he effectively managed the squad after taking over from Jurgen Klopp, who, as we all know, will always be a legend at Anfield. But it is starting to feel as though his fate is inevitable. And yeah, I did see the comments of David Ornstein that the club are firmly behind him, but he's really feeling that his fate is sealed, and it's only a matter of when. things are going to change. And you have to believe that if Liverpool are knocked out of the Champions League on Wednesday, pressure is only going to intensify, and it's not going to be an easy situation for the manager. Now, coming back to my pre-season forecast, I forecast that Arsenal would win the league, Manchester City would finish second, and Liverpool would finish third. And this was at a time when many were forecasting that Liverpool were going to dominate following a convincing title win last year and £450 million spent on the transfer market. Thinking back, my reasoning had a lot to do with the pressure of expectations. In Arne Slot's first season, expectations were low. And I think they were especially low, particularly after minimal activity in the transfer market. 25-26 last season was a very, very different circumstance to how it is this year. And one comment that I made I find interesting in hindsight, and that was that this season was going to reveal how Arne Slot manages the new squad as it's evolving. Because think of it, as we all know, he had Jurgen Klopp's squad last year. He did do a good job managing it. He tweaked some things. He certainly got momentum and he kept it going. But this was going to be a different animal. There were going to be new players coming in, and the expectation of the average Liverpool fan was going to be much, much higher than it was 12 months ago. So the burning question, because when I tune in to the radio and I hear fans talking, there's still this hope that Liverpool will win a trophy, get some silverware this year. And it's possible, but to be honest, if I was answering the question, I would struggle to answer yes to Liverpool winning a trophy. And you can look at it and say, well, the current squad is arguably stronger than it was that won the Champions League back in 2005. But I don't see anything from Arne Slot that suggests that tactically he's at the same level as a Rafa Benitez, let alone a Jurgen Klopp. I mean, could you imagine Liverpool going into the Champions League final and Rafa had started Steven Gerrard at right fullback? No, I think we all know that we need our best midfielder this year in the position where he's most effective for the team. Can they qualify for the Champions League next season? I think they have a better chance of that than winning silverware. But it also has something to do with the fact that both Aston Villa and Chelsea appear equally determined to throw away their Champions League placing as well. So it's kind of a strange situation. Nobody almost wants the slots, and you've got Brentford coming up in the next position. So I think they've got to be watching the situation pretty keenly. That would be a surprise if they made it. And even Newcastle United and, dare I say, Everton aren't that far away. So I think Liverpool's got a better chance of qualifying for the Champions League tournament next year. But silverware, I think, looks pretty doubtful to me. You never know. Anyway, Wednesday, Liverpool plays Galatasaray. Will they reach the Champions League quarterfinals? I think once again, if I was posed that question in person, I think my answer would have to be, don't be so sure. I mean, people are saying, well, Liverpool should win, but they said that against Tottenham, didn't they? And even if they do succeed, who's up next for them? Yeah, but their nemesis from last year, Paris Saint-Germain, they look likely to face Liverpool in the next round should Liverpool advance. And you can add to that an away trip in the FA Cup to Manchester City. So it's hard to find much optimism, I think, for Liverpool fans as of right now. So anyway, to conclude, over to you and your magic wand, Arne. You're really going to have to pull the rabbit out of the hat now. You do have the players, but can you get them producing? So anyway, I'm going to call it a wrap for right now. Feel free to make some comments. We'd love for you to subscribe to the LFC American show, and we will look for you next time down the road.